Good morning again.
Good morning.
We all spoke to it was amazing. Spoke to the talk today, so there was only one mind. You know, and the power of that mind is amazing. It's unbelievable because it is. I mean, you experience it. Or I experience it, I know that. And the theme for the month is the power of the mind. And the theme for this week is part of one of the quotes about a statement of truth, what I like to call them for religious science, and it's, we believe that God, Spirit, whatever you choose to call it, is personal to all who feel that indwelling presence. That presence that lives within each of us. That knowing, that deep knowing that we have, if we allow it, if we feel it and we know it. It's amazing how we allow outside influences to attack us, to rule us, to guide us. Sometimes they want to guide us, but sometimes it's more of a ruling, and it's a power trip a lot of times from other people, and maybe we might do that sometimes. But that one thing that we seek so much, I think, is the highest thing that we seek is happiness. At our Toastmasters meeting the other day, we have table topics. That's where somebody gives a topic, you get up and you speak for like a minute on it. And the question was, think back when you were a kid, and what was it that you wanted to do or wanted to be? And there was two things I thought of. One was a hobo. Because we used to have what we call bums. They'd come to the door, and back in the 50s, and I thought that was kind of exciting, to jump trains and, see things. But my main thing, when people would ask what I wanted to be when I grow up, was happy. And I think the reason was because I wasn't happy at home. It was not the best environment in the world to grow up in. And so I wanted to be happy. And then I said, I believe I have achieved that. There's days, yes, I'm down, but if I look at my life right now, and to be honest about it, I am happy. And happiness, most of you, if you've heard this before, and if you've gotten a personal email from me, the tagline is that life is an inside job. And happiness is that same thing. But really, happiness is like what we experience on the outside. It's that other thing Kim had said, the joy, and Stephanie had said too, the joy. And that joy is that quality of the divine that lives and breathes and moves and is in us. I always go here because whenever you go to a workshop or a meditation or whatever, somebody says, where in your body do you feel this? Well, whenever anything comes up in life, stresses, little things, even excitement, it comes to me right here in the solar plexus. It always hits my gut. It's like, okay, something's here. I go, okay, what's going on? Because it's a sign, and I've realized that I need to look at that sign and see, okay, what is going on? And so we're trying to be happy in this life. Theoretically, we only go around once in this life, once in this form. I have no idea what we do after, or if there is reincarnation. I always said if was a reincarnation, I'd love to be a butterfly. Because they're beautiful, they fly, they're free, until somebody sticks them with a pin and puts them on board. And they have a short life. But the life that they live, that they have, is to me, a glorious life. When we need the thing that this indwelling presence, the thing we need to do, and I don't like to say need, but I feel for me it's a need, something I have to do, and is to get in a relationship. I know sometimes that's a bad word to use. But develop a relationship with that inner indwelling presence. Talk to it, like you were saying about ask, talk to that inner you, that divine presence that resides, that developed and created this life that we live, the life that we breathe. Because spirit is at the center of our core. And every time I hear spirit, there's that movie, Spirit, the animated one, which is a fantastic movie. It always moves me because it's about this horse and how that horse was taken and broken. But really, it never lost its spirit. And it was just, it's unbelievable. So I see spirit. So you hear a word and it has many different meanings to us, depending on where we're at, what we're doing, you know, if we're in a happy space, if we're in a sad space, or if we're just in a space. Words are like that. One thing I liked when I was developing this was that we can seek counsel from this indwelling spirit by meditating, by all the spiritual practices that we encourage, meditating, visioning, journaling, any of those can be how we receive counsel. One thing about journaling, which that's one thing I like to promote, but do I do it? Not often. But I know when I do it, something is going to come out of it, something great. Because if you just sit there and you allow, like, if you maybe stop and meditate for just a few minutes, and then you allow that pen to go. Or if you're going to use a computer, just allow your fingers to go. Without judgment, without criticism. The first experience I really had of that was in practitioner one training. There was an exercise where you were supposed to meditate, I think it was 5 or 10 minutes, and then journal about your childhood. I got goosebumps already. I did this at work at lunch hour. And I said this before. Never ever do that. Because you don't know what's going to happen. And I realized that after I started journaling. I mean, it was unbelievable what came out. And the tears and the emotions that came. It was just, and we can do that with anything in our lives, because sometimes what we need to do is we need to get that out. Because that's what causes the disease and discomfort in our lives, is that stuff that we hold in, that we bury, and think that we can only handle it. Nobody else can help us. Because we would look at it like we were weak if we asked for help. That we can't do it ourselves. You have to be strong. You have to be that when I was a kid, be a man, or, you know, boys don't cry, all that garbage. I really never did buy into it. Or I'll give you something to cry about. Yeah, okay. That's really going to boost you up, I mean. So the life force that lives within us, that resides there, is that indwelling spirit that we speak of, that presence. But we really need to recognize it. To recognize that it's there. Because if we deny it, just like we deny any of our feelings, of our sadness, of our thank you. Of our fear, any of those feelings that that tie us down, anchor us to the floor, and not let us move forward. That spirit, that life force within, can assist us, does assist us. Sometimes we don't listen until we get that proverbial 2x4, and sometimes it's more like a 4x4 upside the head. A lot of times I need something that is so huge to hit me before I actually, do something. Kind of like my heart attack. That'll change your life in a way. And so, like everybody knows, I think pretty much in this room, most of the people that now, since my heart attack a year ago, I haven't had to take any medication for my diabetes. It's under control with the diet because I added one thing that was suggested, and that suggestion went like right through, you know, and that was exercise. And so now the combination, it's, you know, it's amazing what we can do with our lives if we. And somebody said about listening being healing, and it can be. I love that. I never heard that spoken like that, but listening, and that's why I love to witness people, because for me that's healing, and I believe the person I'm witnessing, that can be a healing force for them too, because sometimes all we need, or all another person needs, is, like I said, get the crap out. Not in a dumping kind of way, but in a way that we see, and a light comes on. And if I'll have this question in my mind, and I will start asking somebody a question, and I have the answer pops in. I already had it. We have the answers, and that answer comes from that indwelling spirit. That life is that's an inside job. I think I'm going to have bumper stickers made, you know? Because it's nice to remind people. Like I had a bumper sticker before that on my car. Actually, it was a homemade bumper sticker that you are the love you've been seeking. And I love to watch in the rearview mirror at stop signs, but people reading, you know, and then see the reaction sometimes, and it's amazing, you know. If we do little things like that in the world, maybe you could lighten up the world a bit. Sometimes we resist listening. In a lot of cases, it's I think in relationship to our jobs, our work, our employment. We're not happy there, but it's so hard to go out. It's so hard to change, to step into something unknown. Because we're familiar with that. And that's the same with the relationships that we're in. A lot of times it is so, well, I don't want to say so easy, but it's a lot easier to stay in a relationship that you know than to move out of it because the unknown is so scary. My mother was like that. With my stepfather, the abuse and everything that she took. And later on in life, after they finally split, there were 6 of us kids. And she said, where do you go? You know, this is back in the early 60s. You know, what do you do? What would she do? She had no idea. So the fear was holding her from moving forward in her life into a safer, happier life. And so a lot of times we resist doing something because the fear of the unknown. Some words came up along with this line, and one is to trust. To trust yourself. Trust that still small voice within, because that is the divine speaking to you, through you. And faith. Have the faith of God, not in something outside of yourself, for that spirit, that divine that lives within you. Have that faith in yourself. That's what goes right along with the trust. I mean, I did not think I could accomplish anything in life growing up in how I did. Although I did accomplish some things, of the negative things that were said, yes, I did. But fortunately, I was able to shift that with help from the divine and others. But sometimes I think it takes certain things in life for us to, certain situations for us to build that faith. And we have to have the courage to step out and do something about it. Because only we can do that. We can expect government to do things. I don't even want to go there. I'm thinking of the political arena that we're in, and it frightens me, you know. But I think in some ways it's one of the best things that's happened, because it's getting people involved, even no matter, maybe not in a positive way, but they're getting involved, and they're speaking up, and there's certain people that are actually getting out and doing something instead of jacking their jaws. That's, I believe, one thing what we need to do, and that's how the divine can guide us, is to stand up. Stand up for ourselves. Don't allow others to define us. Don't allow our job to define us. Don't allow our relationship to define us. Because we aren't that. We are that divine essence expressing here on this earth. Ernest Holmes, in the Science of Mind, said, "Spirit is the center of each one of us. To it, we may come for guidance, and from it, we may draw both inspiration and the power to live, stand, and walk." From the Upanishads, we read, "The silent one, the knower, ever resting in us, may walk, stand, sit, lie down, and do anything to its sweet will." I like that last phrase, sweet will. Because I grew up hearing that, you know, about the damning and punishing God. But there was another side of it I also learned, which I took away, was a loving God, a loving presence in the universe. Something that, I think it's John 3:16, because I got the bookmark in one of these classes I was in when I was in school, that God so loved the world. And it goes on and gave his only begotten Son. But I believe that Spirit, that the Creator, that the universe loves us. But of course, in order for that to happen, it has to be in here. And the biggest thing is we have to love ourselves. And know that we are that divine presence. Know that we can be held through the darkest night of the soul in the loving arms of Spirit. Being cradled just like you cradle a baby. If we allow ourselves to do that. But it is an inside job. And we need to do that. So I invite you to, I want to say like when you're doing a tandem jump, like we did a few years ago. You have somebody on your back when you jump out of that airplane, guiding you, knowing what to do, thank God. And that's just like Spirit. Be in tandem. We don't have to know all the answers all the time. Now, if I just believe that, if I practice that, we don't have to. But we have somebody that's got our back, that's got our lives, got our everything. And that's Spirit, and that's the one that lives and dwells within us. And that partnership, that divine partnership, coming together in agreement with the divine, knowing that life is happy. I love that. When you pick that song, I'm going, that's interesting. But I got it. I did it. And it's sometimes you need a little jolt, because it wasn't my choice. It was somebody else's choice, but if I open up and listen, it was the perfect choice. And you will find little slips of paper, either in the front of the program or on a chair. I like to do this because it gets audience participation. And this is the affirmation for the week. And if you want to take these with you, feel free to. I'll read it through once, and then I'm going to invite you to join me. The indwelling presence is alive, alert, awake, and enthusiastic within me now. Woo! I live my life in the promise of the peace that it brings me and into the lives of those around me. Please join me. The indwelling presence is alive, alert, awake, and enthusiastic within me now. I live my life in the promise of the peace that it brings me and into the lives of those around me. And so it is.